everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into the ever-shifting digital labyrinth that is the world of Five Nights at Freddy's. But we aren't just talking about jump scares or the latest character designs today. We're exploring how the very DNA of FNAF storytelling has mutated. We're looking at how the lore is shaping the community, and how the relationship between Scott Cawthon's original creation and the theorist community has fundamentally changed, and what all this means for the next era of the franchise. For over a decade, FNAF has been more than just a horror series. It's been a puzzle, a challenge, a massive crowdsourced narrative experiment. We'd spent countless hours decoding 8-bit minigames, pixel hunting in source code, and debating the identity of a purple pixelated man. In the early days, the goal felt tangible. Find the truth, pin down the timeline, and prove who was right. But the winds have shifted. The story isn't just about finding a single golden answer anymore. It's about exploring possibilities, weighing perspectives, and engaging with a level of ambiguity that would have been unimaginable back in 2014. The community has matured and, well, the narrative has matured with it. In this video, we're going to explore the shift from the puzzle era to the interpretive era. How characters like the Mimic and Cassie reflect this, and just what this means for us as theorists, and especially why the story is now demanding we think in more complex, layered ways than ever before. To understand the complexity of where we are, we have to respect the foundation of where we started. The original quadrilogy, FNAF 1 through 4, was built on a bedrock of solvability. Back then, every hidden minigame was a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Every line of dialogue from Phone Guy was a clue, and every background Easter egg, like the changing posters in the West Hall, served a specific purpose. There was a sense that Scott Cawthon had a master blueprint, and if we were just smart enough, if we looked close enough at the newspaper clippings, we could reconstruct the timeline with 100% accuracy. This environment birthed a specific breed of community, the competitive theorist. In this era, being right was the ultimate currency. The goal was to be the first to discover the identity of the purple guy, the first to realise the bite of 87, or was the bite of 83, or vice versa, and the first to map out the convoluted lineage of the Afton family. This era was defined by certainty. We were digital detectives, and we believed there was a case-closed file waiting at the end of the tunnel. However, as the series expanded into Sister Location and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, something interesting happened. The clues started to get messy. Contradictions emerged. Timelines didn't bend, they seemed to splinter. At first, the community reacted with frustration. We thought Scott made a mistake or the lore was getting retconned. But in hindsight, we can see it wasn't a mistake. It was the beginning of an intentional evolution. The story was moving away from a linear path and towards a narrative ecosystem that embraced ambiguity. In the modern era of FNAF, specifically the post-Help Wanted era, the focus has shifted away from definitive answers. We've moved from a whodunit to a what if. Modern FNAF invites us to explore the meaning of events, rather than just the order of them. Every glitch, every weird behaviour from the Glamrock animatronics, and every cryptic note in the security breach can be interpreted through multiple lenses. Contradictions are no longer errors to be fixed, they are features to be analysed. This evolution reflects the growth of the community. The teenagers who were solving puzzles in 2014 are now adults who understand narrative complexity, psychological trauma, and the concept of an unreliable narrator. We've become comfortable with the idea that two things can be true at once, or that the truth might be buried under layers of corporate propaganda from Fazbear Entertainment. The story has stopped being a puzzle to be solved and has become a text to be deconstructed. We are no longer just asking what happened. We're asking, whose perspective are we seeing? Is this memory being filtered through a digital lens? What does this represent in the context of a larger legacy? We are being able to look more deeply into the meanings behind the events. If you want to point to one character that defines this new era, it has to be the Mimic. Introduced in the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, making its grand debut in the Ruin DLC, and now the Secret of the Mimic. The Mimic is the ultimate meta-commentary on the franchise. On a surface level, the Mimic is a terrifying AI designed to copy what it sees. But narratively, it represents unreliability. When you have an entity that can copy voices, replicate identities, and distort the past, the very concept of evidence becomes suspect. For theorists, the Mimic is a nightmare and a playground all at once. Is that Gregory's voice, or is it the Mimic? Is that Afton's behaviour, or is it the Mimic copying a legend? Is the burn trap ending even real, or is it a digital recreation within the simulation? The Mimic forces us to question the validity of our observations. It mirrors the community's own behaviour in a way. Just as we mimic Scott's patterns to find clues, the Mimic copies the law and the actions of others. It blurs the lines between reality and simulation, between the creator and the creation. It tells us that in the new era, certainty is dead and exploration is, well, everything. The FNAF universe has branched out far beyond the digital confines of a computer screen. The Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex series have become essential reading. Not because they give us answers to the games, but because they provide thematic depth. While the games give us the what, the jump scares, the survival, the environment, the books give us the why. They dive into the psychology of William Afton, for example, the ethics of Remnant, and the horrifying consequences of corporate negligence. The relationship between the books and the games is the most debated topic in the community right now. Are they the same timeline? Are they parallels? But perhaps the more interesting way to look at it is as cross-medium synthesis. The modern theorist has to be a literary critic as much as a gamer. We have to analyse character arcs in a novel and see how they inform the environmental storytelling in a game like Security Breach. This added layer of complexity rewards creativity. It allows for theories that aren't just about dates and names, but about the cyclical nature of evil and the corruption of innocence. For the longest time, the FNAF lore was the William Afton show. It was about one man's descent into madness and his quest for immortality. But lately, the focus has shifted. We are now looking at systems over individuals. Even if William Afton is truly gone, and in FNAF gone is a relative term, his legacy has become a self-sustaining system. Fazbear Entertainment has become a faceless corporate entity that prioritises profit over human life, turning Afton's horrors into a brand. The theorising has to change to match this. We are no longer just tracking a serial killer, we are analysing a corporate entity. We're looking at how haunted AI, digital virus-like entities, like Glitch Trap, and automated systems continue to propagate Afton's original sin. It's a shift from linear causality to systematic analysis. This mirrors the maturity of the audience. We are now looking at the broader societal and ethical implications of the FNAF world, making the lore feel more grounded and, ironically, more terrifying. Security Breach and the Ruin DLC was a turning point for how many others view the narrative. It didn't give us just one ending, it gave us several. and each one felt equally possible, depending on how you either beat the game in Security Breach or interpreted clues left in Ruin. The game uses visual ambiguity as a weapon. I'm going to focus on Ruin here. Are we seeing the world through Cassie's eyes or through the AR mask? When the mask is on, the world looks different. Is that the truth, or is it a digital hallucination? In Ruin, the debates in the community didn't really centre on who won or lost. They centred on the ethics of the mimic. Is it a villain or a victim of its own programming? The reality of the ending, which ending reflects the true path? The connectivity. How does the MXES system tie back to the original security protocols? By refusing to give us a definitive "the end" screen that explains everything, the game forces the community to keep the story alive through discussion. The ambiguity is the point here. We all knew that. It keeps the mystery vibrant long after the credits roll. To me, Cassie is a fascinating protagonist because she is the first one who feels like a fan of the world she's trapped in. Her father worked for Fazbear. She has a history with the Pizzaplex, but her perspective is also incredibly fragmented. As players, we are forced to navigate through her bias. Her loyalty to Gregory blinds her to certain dangers, just as our loyalty to old theories might blind us to new evidence. In a way, Cassie represents the modern theorist, someone who's deeply invested in the world, trying to make sense of a broken, glitchy reality, and realizing that the people or entities they trusted might not be what they seem. Cassie's journey encourages us to think about perspective. In the early games, we were a mostly nameless security guard, but we could figure out who we were, and that was pretty cut and dry. Now we are a character with history, and that history colours how we play and see the lore. It adds a subjective layer to the storytelling that some makes solving the game impossible, but interpreting it is endlessly rewarding. It's open to so many different interpretations now. Perhaps the most radical change in the FNAF era is the realization that the community is and has been part of the story. Scott Cawthon has always had a unique relationship with his fans. And yes, it's been passed over to Steelwall now, but he's still involved somehow. He watches the theories, he sees the fan art, and while he doesn't necessarily change the story based on what we say, there is a clear feedback loop. When the community identifies a pattern or a theme, the next game often leans into that theme, or if we're struggling, gives us some more hints to clear up things in the past. We aren't just passive observers, we are active participants in this narrative ecosystem. Our collective brainstorming sessions on Reddit, Discord, and YouTube contribute to how the lore is told to us as much as the games themselves do. The dream theory, the two Vanessas theory, the mimic theories. These ideas become part of the fabric of FNAF, the fundamentals, the founding blocks. And while some of them get disproved, this co-created process transforms the narrative from a static book on a shelf into a living, breathing organism. Each deep dive video, each 100-page Google Doc, each heated debate in the comment section adds another layer of understanding. We are effectively the historians of a world that is still being written. In this new era, we have to start looking at the meta. What if the glitches in the games aren't just gameplay mechanics glitching? What if they symbolize the breaking down of the narrative itself? As the timeline becomes more bloated and complex, the story glitches in a way. The Mimic is the ultimate manifestation of this, a character that I think exists because the story has started to repeat itself. The contradictions we see might be intentional symbols of a world that is struggling to contain its own history. The what-ifs are no longer just fun thought experiments. They are the framework for understanding a story that refuses to be contained by a single timeline. when we analyse the symbolisation of the masks, the colours, the recurring motifs of family and abandonment, we are doing more than just finding clues. We are performing a thematic autopsy on a way of a franchise that has redefined what it means to tell a story in the digital age. So, what you all must be thinking, where do we go from here? The next era of FNAF theorising will likely move even further away from the timeline search. We will see more focus on branching narratives, unreliable AI narration, and systematic consequences, how the old actions will affect things even 40 years down the line. We should expect future installments to be even more interactive, not just in terms of gameplay, but in terms of the lore. We might see games that change based on community choices in the real world, or AR experiences that blur the line between our world and Freddy's. The theorist of the future won't be someone who has all the answers. They will be someone who can synthesize disparate pieces of information from games, books, movies, and ARG elements into a cohesive interpretation. It will be about the vibe and the themes as much as the fact. Obviously, truth will still have an effect, but it opens it to be so many more new theorist voices being able to tell their interpretations, and we need to give that more credit. Right, so when people say FNAF's lore is confusing, inconsistent, or too much, they're missing the forest for the trees. The lore isn't broken, it has simply outgrown the box we tried to put it back in 2014. The mysteries haven't disappeared, they've just gained weight, they've become layered. They've become interactive. The story of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has transformed from a single ghost story into a sprawling epic about technology, legacy, and the persistence of memory. The next theory era isn't about winning a debate or being the one who solved the game. It's about being part of a global conversation. It's about the thrill of the what if. It's about accepting that in the world of FNAF, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. But hey, that's just a perspective. I want to hear from you. How has your way of theorising changed over the last decade? Do you miss the days of the simple, solvable puzzles? Or do you love this new, messy, interpretive era? Personally, I really like the new, messy, interpretive era because it allows us to see how different people view things. Drop a comment below, I'll be hanging out there to see your thoughts, and who knows, your insight might just spark the next deep dive video. If you enjoyed this exploration of the FNAF evolution, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a lore drop. The story isn't over, it's just getting started. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.